Hi, everyone. My name is LeeAnn Brownell, and I am one of the now two EAL consultants for HRCE. Thank you for joining my session as we introduce the Newcomer Welcome Center that is being piloted in HRCE. Recently started in March. This is when we opened our doors officially. So we are located in St. Agnes Junior High, which is right next to Halifax Shopping Center and across the street from iSands uh, and a major bus terminal. So it's easily accessible for the newcomer population. It's also nearby YMCA School Settlement Office. So what exactly is the Newcomer Welcome Center? Well, the purpose, the main intention is to support new families to the region to um, prepare their children for school. So, one of the major tasks that we do is we register children to school, um, but we also give uh, a better understanding and a deeper look at what supports are provided at the schools and what they can expect when they are starting their children at a school that is often a very different culture from what they came from. And some of our students may not have gone to school or could have been interrupted. So, the impact that has had so far has been very positive. It is providing a streamlined approach to getting students ready for school, and it's improving the transition for students who do start school. Um, we are able to provide, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're able to actually have time with interpreters to be meeting with families and, giving them access to resources, explaining school expectations, and even learning more about their child and some of the needs that they might come with. So this improves access to programming information, and it's very valuable to have this in advance of a student actually arriving to school so that appropriate supports can be in place sooner. And existing EAL support schedules are not interrupted. So when a child comes through the Welcome Center, we are able to conduct an educational background form. So we're learning about, when did they learn to read, write, and speak? How old were they? Do they have any challenges with that? What are they interested in? Was their schooling interrupted? What did they, and then we look at strengths, challenges, and interests. So it's very valuable. Um, and then we also do an English language proficiency assessment ahead of them starting school, and we can let the schools and the EAL teacher know. So not only is the student coming in with a lot of valuable information that you wouldn't normally get when they go directly to school, EAL support is also continuing because they don't have to stop and say, "Oh, I can't be in your class today. This afternoon, we have a new family coming and I have to assess 3 children." That is already done. So the benefits are huge to the support that the Welcome Center is providing. So here are just a few images. When you walk into the doors, which actually are accessible via ramp as well. So that's been very handy. We have a nice non-political map. So we add a little bit of color to the space, little waiting area. We do receive walk-ins from time to time. People are curious about the Welcome Center can offer. Um, and even if they don't have school-age children, we're often able to direct them to local partners. So if they need language assessment, if they're looking for work, we're right across from Nova Scotia Works or Job Junction. So, uh, yeah, and sometimes they say, "Oh, well, my child isn't here yet." And so we say, "Well, come on back. You know where we are." So, who exactly do we support? So, for the purpose of the pilot, we support refugee families that are associated with ISANS. So for those of you who might not be familiar, that is Immigration Services Association of Nova Scotia. So they support all permanent residents. However, we focus on the refugee family portion, kind of department there. Families that are supported by YMCA school settlement a Halifax refugee clinic. So they are a nonprofit organization that support refugee claimants and asylum seekers. So just to touch briefly on the difference, a refugee claimant or an asylum seeker is someone who arrives in Canada and then seeks refugee status, that it's unsafe for a variety of reasons to return to their country. Refugees that are associated with ISANs would be government sponsored. And I do think there is some overlap there in support of private sponsors, which are from communities or churches. And then we have school referrals, which are really increasing in number. So if a newcomer family arrives at a school and says, "Oh, I live nearby, I'm looking for my child to start," the front office staff, typically the admin assistant, um, will give the family a flyer and direct them to us. Or sometimes the admin assistant calls directly and books the appointment for them right then and there. So it's been working out quite well. And so, how we have it set up is we have an online booking form and we're using the Microsoft form. It's very secure. So, the agencies that we work with have access to this form, and then there is a link on from our oh my gosh, our business card that takes them to something similar. So if we click here, this is when you're requesting an appointment. So, are you a caseworker? So sometimes it could be a caseworker or a settlement worker from one of the agencies, and then they enter their information and then the family's information, uh, email address, and then when would they prefer their appointment to be scheduled? And we just get a little background of information, primary language, in case we need to know for interpretation support. And then any accommodations that they might need that we would need to be prepared for. And then they submit it, and we get an email, and then we follow up with the person who filled out the form. And so it's a very quick turnaround in terms of when you submit an appointment request and when it's booked. And typically, we've averaged a week, week and a half of wait time, which is pretty good. Okay. And here's our business card. So we have our address, our email address, our telephone number, and then we go to a QR code, and this would take the public, I guess, would take them to a very similar form. So they would get that when they go to a school as a walk-in. That is the business card that they would be provided with. So, for example, we had a family recently go to one of our high schools and said, "Oh, we're in the area." And the admin assistant said, "Oh, we have a welcome center." And they gave them the flyer or business card. And he came here and he had the flyer with him, and everything matches the signs on the building, so they were able to find, the address. Oh, okay, easily identified. It matches what's on the card they gave me to the building, so it's been pretty slick that way. With permission, this is a family being registered. So we have Nadine. She is our newcomer parent navigator, and she does, the appointment booking, the go between with the caseworkers and the agencies and the schools. Uh, and she meets with the families. She kind of approves their documents to make sure that they have what is legal and appropriate, and providing proof that they are who they say they are and they live where they say they live. Um, and then we begin the registration process, and then we have Tanya, our EAL assessor, and she does the the educational background forms and the English proficiency assessments. So all in all, appointments can take, depends on number of children and language, and if interpretation support is required, it can take anywhere from an hour or two. Um, Sometimes, if the family's large with three children, or sorry, three, six, seven children, um, sometimes it can take upwards of 3 hours, but on average, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours an appointment. All right. So interpretation support. We have been very, very fortunate to be able to have hired an Arabic speaking parent navigator. So she's been, a lifeline for a lot of our families, providing them with information on community supports, explaining what, who the different players are in the schools. So, talking about Schools Plus, she connects them with YMCA School Settlement, and just gets a wealth of knowledge. We are also fortunate to be able to provide in-person interpretation through a local service provider. And then depending on the language, we can also tap into some remote support as well. So that's been handy. And, we have a number of newcomer families that are also quite fluent in English. So all in all, um, I think we've only had to rely on Google once, and that was in our very early days. So things have been going quite well in terms of the support we're able to provide with the families. Another thing I want to touch on is when they're here, and it's a very welcoming, calm environment. Um, they often share information about their children that we don't often get access to until weeks or months later. And so, anecdotally, we've heard from reports from schools that families that have come through the Welcome Center, the startup has been, you know, much smoother. They're able to get those programs in place if necessary, or they're able to start the process of that. So, depending on the needs. Um, and it's not rushed when they have the time. Um, it's they've been very forthcoming with some of the information, and we're able to clearly explain that, you know, we're in Canada, we have a strong inclusive education policy, we've got supports in place to support their child. And I think when they know that, and that there is no stigma to that, that it's, could be different than what it looked like back home, um, they really open up. So we often don't get that when it's fill out this form online, drop your child off at 8 o'clock next Monday. Um, they're not getting that support. So I can't stress enough how valuable this welcome center has been. So staff at the welcome center we've got a little small team, but we're on the map, we're opened, and we're doing great work. So we're going to build on that. We have a newcomer parent navigator who connects the caseworkers. So through ISANS, Refugee Clinic, and any kind of organization. We have had some community family supports that we've also worked with. So she's kind of the go-between between the agencies and the school. She supports verifying documents, doing the actual registration. She'll do change of address for them, out of area requests. We do provide a brief orientation. So the important information that they need to have a successful start. So and I touch on it in a bit, but we give them access to translated materials. We talk about drop off times. We talk about busing information, sharing start dates, just some kind of general rules, not leaving your child unattended before certain times, picking them up. We talk about community programming, so cultural communities, local churches and organizations, extracurricular activities. And we also connect families with Schools Plus. So we'll explain what that is, and we'll let the school know ahead of time that maybe this family could benefit from Schools Plus support. And we're also able to get consent for them to receive YMCA services if applicable. So I do know that YMCA only supports um, certain immigration status people. Um, and then we do follow up with schools. So if there is, if a child is kind of experiencing some challenges with that transition piece, um, they can connect back with us, and maybe we can follow up with the caseworker. Some schools are fortunate enough to have a YMCA settlement worker, um, but that's not always the case. So maybe it's something about, directing them to access the mobile support that YMCA offers, or maybe our parent navigator connects back with the caseworker just to do another check-in. So it's we're kind of all connected, and so there is someone there to be the voice of the student and the family so that we can continue to provide appropriate supports for the children. All right. Oh, okay. So I touched on this, the online registrations, the out of area request, change of address, and then access to translated materials. So I'll click on this here. So we have this ready to go. So we have the parent navigator goes on and shares the link per language for the families. So we'll click on the Arabic link. And so this is what the family will see. They will go to a folder and they'll have access to all of these documents. So we have a welcome to school document created. And so when the family registers, the parent navigator fills this out. So school name, the contact information, who the school admin are, the bell schedule, and what grades their child are going to be placed in. And so that's all filled out for them. And then it's just a very clear, simple document to give the basics of school attendance, how to report an absence, school messenger, what Power School is, little blurb on transportation, school arrival and dismissal, what is the breakfast program, um, so that they understand, yes, it's grab and go, that it's free, that it's available to all. Um, just how lunch can look different at certain schools. And I know that we are rolling out a lunch program. I don't know a lot of information about that yet, but that will be coming. Just about water bottles, allergies, the peanut. The information about peanuts is very important. School clothing, cancellations, the calendars, um, and media consent form. This is also very important because when we are doing the registration, we're able to get informed media consent. We're able to give them this information so that they can read it and understand what exactly they are saying yes or no to. So that's been quite helpful. Um, and then just connecting to outside agencies, which I'll touch on shortly. And then our other staff member, and also another critical member of our team, is the EAL assessor. So as I had mentioned, she does the educational background form. So this is very important too with students with special needs, that we're able to get kind of the nuts and bolts of it. And then when we let the school know ahead of time, okay, it's been identified that the student has these needs, and so the school admin are able to connect with their student services team, and then from there they can kind of set up meetings and get more information that's required to get some things in place. We conduct the EAL intake assessment, so that's determining English language proficiency. We're connecting with the EAL teachers at schools. Um, a few of our high schools have EAL courses, and so we're able to make recommendations on what EAL course would be appropriate based on proficiency levels. Um, there are some times that, a child is sick or there's been a misunderstanding and the children don't come to the appointment at the Welcome Center. So we are able to send the assessor out to the school and do online assessments. Sorry, not online, sorry, in-person assessments. We're also able to connect students at the high school level to LENS. And LENS is Learn English Nova Scotia, and they do CLB assessments. So that's Canadian Language Benchmark Assessments. And this opens up some opportunities for students, if they're planning for post-secondary opportunities, if they want to get enrolled in summer programs. So they're just located on Quimple Road. Um, they have they provide excellent work. They're funded by the IRCC, and they work quite closely too with our high school EAL teachers. And helping our students kind of navigate which pathway is best for them and what summer programs are offered through ice sands, what does the YMCA offer, and just knowing like, oh, this is your language level now and this is where you need to be to go to community college or to go to university. So it really it's something very valuable for a lot of our if not all of our language learners to have access to. Here's just a few pictures. We're able to offer coffee, tea, some light snacks to the children. Sometimes the appointments might run long. Um, this bulletin board was actually created by some of our newcomer students. So they made little decorative postcards in a variety of languages that say welcome, hello, peace, friendship. So I see a lot of the parents and the kids come in and point out their language and, their faces kind of light up. Uh, and I had touched on this briefly, but just because of the space and the amount of time that we can really give to a family, we can really explain what it means to be, to offer inclusive education and what that can look like. And just having the time and opportunity to, get some important background information to explain what the process is. So if the family does share information, we can say, okay, we will share this with the school. It might take a couple of days longer for your start date because the family will want to meet you. The family will want to meet the child. They want to connect with the right people, with the right professionals. To be supporting the child starting school. Um, and so we just make sure that, the right people are there so that everything really goes smoothly. And then maybe identify any additional needs. This is a mural. We actually had a newcomer himself who goes between Canada and Mexico, and he had painted this beautiful mural, and so kindly donated the file to us. So we had this blown up, and this is across from where the chairs and the map is that you had seen in an earlier screen. So again, very bright, very welcoming. And we also have a little corner of our space for children. Coloring books, toys, blocks. We have a couple of iPads. We have some dual language books. And you'll see in the background here, we have this lovely welcome sign. So a couple of students at one of our elementary schools had done a little postcard of this, and we thought it was so just bright and representative of the families and the students that we're supporting and working with. And so I joke, I said, we commissioned a special piece, and she asked for a friend to help her because it was such a big project. Anyhow, this was done by a grade 6 student at one of our local elementary schools, and they did a fantastic job. So the kids really kind of settle in, and while their parents are are going through the process, and some of them are young, some of them have already been assessed, and so yeah, it's a great little corner for them. And so, who are our community partners? So, Lens, I had mentioned, that does the language assessment for the standardized Canadian language benchmark. We've worked with a couple of community family centers, such as Chebucto and Fairview Family Centers. We are connected with Nova Scotia Works and the Job Junction, so all of our high schools have access to a oh my gosh, I forget their title now. Job liaison. Anyhow, they support youth, um, with skill building and resumes and interview skills, and kind of trying to pair them up, find employment. So we've been able to, they've come, they've met, they've seen the space, they're just across the way, and we've connected them with the YMCA and the EAL teachers at a number of our high schools. So some great things have come out of that, and we're really, excited to kind of strengthen that partnership. We work very closely with ISANS and YMCA School Settlement, and also the Halifax Refugee Clinic, which I had mentioned was the nonprofit that they support the asylum seekers and refugee claimants upon arrival. And so that is it. Very excited about this pilot that we have started. Um, we continue to receive inquiries and booking appointments into the summer. So just really passionate and excited about this work. And the families are so grateful for what we're able to provide with them, and they feel a little bit more confident starting school. I mean, they have so much that they have to navigate, being new to a country and often not having the language that they need, or the understanding. And so, if we can make, one piece of their puzzle a little bit easier, and a lot of times they come here so their children can go to school. So it's often a big reason why they are here. So if we can really improve that process, it's been very rewarding work so far, and we have a great team, very strong team, and really proud of the work we're doing, and excited to continue and just improve upon what we've got in place. So, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email address is there. You can contact Peru McKinnon, the EAL consultant at the department, um, if you would like my contact information as well. So, again, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Thank you.